morning and welcome, smart listeners. I'm Chris Prefontaine, and my focus weekly is to bring you an expert who can help you make a quantum leap in your business, your finances, and or your life. Today, we get to spend some time with Brett Gilliland. Our students and our associates, guys, around the country know that we only expose them to people that we do business with. That's kind of a given now with us, and or that we have done business with in the past and obviously value in some way very highly. And we make it a point to constantly train ourselves, push ourselves, hire mentors, and learn new ways to grow. And in January of 18, I was introduced to Brett and his amazing company that you're going to hear about here on the show. And it was really while searching for the best support system, the best mentors to help me scale my business. And frankly, many, if not all entrepreneurs can get to a certain level of business by hustling. We're going to talk about that. But then after a certain level, it gets a little bit tougher to hustle. So Brett actually is the founder and CEO of Elite Entrepreneurs. It's a company that specializes in giving the 1 million plus business owners, so 1 million in revenue business owners, the knowledge, the processes, and the tools to grow this thing to 10 million. You're going to hear us talk about that and beyond. He's an expert in organization development, leadership, and strategy, and spent 10 years helping Infusionsoft grow from 7 million in revenue to over 100 million. So I want you to think about that for a second. Those are some big numbers. He was involved in the foundational work of purpose, values, mission over at Infusionsoft and facilitated the strategic planning process for many years. One of his favorite professional accomplishments is co-creating Infusionsoft's Elite Forum along with Clayton Mask and building the elite business inside of Infusionsoft. And then as the leader of this elite business, Brett has helped hundreds of struggling seven-figure business owners, that's how we met, overcome their biggest challenges and achieve new levels of success, as I alluded to. He also played a central role in the development of Infusionsoft's leadership model and was serving as the VP of Leadership Development when the decision was made to spin off this business outside of Infusionsoft to have Elite on its own. As the owner of Elite Entrepreneurs, Brett can't think of anything else he'd rather be doing professionally. When he isn't helping when he isn't busy helping 1 million plus business owners, he's a family man who enjoys spending time with his wife, Sharon, and get this, 8 kids. So, Brett, that was a mouthful. Welcome to the show. I actually popped on the video after that so I could make sure I read that properly. There's a lot.
Well, sorry about that. It was nice of you to go through all of that, but I'm thrilled to be here with you. Sure enjoyed getting to know you and your team over the last year plus now, and excited to be with you today.
Yeah, likewise. Do this because I know you so well. For these guys, for the listeners and the viewers on YouTube, give these guys kind of like a behind the scenes, behind the green curtain, kind of the when, how, and why. Other than what I said, how did this whole transition take place, and then what's it look like?
Yeah, so a little bit behind the scenes. So I actually started with Infusionsoft as a consultant. So Infusionsoft had these same needs. How do we scale this business? And I was out consulting and heard Clayton Mask, the CEO of Infusionsoft, speak at an event. I was fortunate enough to figure out a way to spend some time with him, and we said, yeah, let's work together. So for about 9 months, I just spent time as a consultant helping Infusionsoft, and then we just both realized that it was time for me to jump inside. So wasn't the plan originally, but I jumped in, and as you mentioned, I've just built all the people, processes, all the leadership stuff at Infusionsoft, and we did a pretty great job of it. It scaled really nicely, and then started getting recognition for Great Place to Work awards and all this other stuff, and finally started getting asked by our small business customers, hey, can you teach us how you did that? So that wasn't the business we were in, of course. We just started to share things that we had done and learned, and then that turned into a nice little business inside of the company until it was time to focus back on just software and growing their partner ecosystem, and so we spun the business out. So that's why I own and run it today. It's been a little over a year on its own, and it's been a good journey.
Yeah, what I think is kind of cool, it's a bunch of things you said that I want to go back to, but one is so this company was already big by most people's standards when you got hired to consult them. I mean, 7 million is a big number.
That's true. Yep.
And then for some of the people listening and watching, to bring that thing to 100 million, that's a rather large number. So all kinds of nuances and lessons, not only you taught, but I'm sure you learned. And now to totally role reverse, you're in the trenches doing the same thing for your own business.
That's right. Yep. That's a very good observation. And I would say about the 7 million, which sounds like a big number maybe for many of your listeners or the viewers, the 7-figure challenges aren't that different between 1, 2 million and 7 million. They're fairly similar. So that's why we focus so much on that 7-figure audience, because the people, processes, and systems, the things that they have to do to scale to 10 million and beyond, are fairly similar all along that 7-figure journey.
Now, just while I think of it, is this a good time maybe for you to talk about the 7 stages? Because how I found you guys, other than being a user of Infusionsoft software, was I watched Clay, I think this was like 2017. He spoke somewhere. I think it was a super conference for Dan Kennedy, actually. And at that, he said, text and we'll get the 7 stages of business growth, rather. And I got that, and that was an eye opener, because I was like, wait, I could see myself on there, and then I could see the necessity to learn how to go through each level. And so we'll offer that as a free gift for these guys. But do you want to talk about that a little bit, the 7 stages?
Sure. And we call it the stages. I'm going to do something funny on a video here, but maybe you can see this, the stages of small business growth. Okay. And there's actually 5 on here. We did publish a 7-stage version earlier. So I'd be interested to know if you actually saw the 7 stages, or if you just got stuck on 7 figures in your mind.
I think both.
Probably both. But these stages are very predictable. It doesn't matter what industry or where you live. We have people from all over the world actually who come and learn this stuff with us. But the stages have very predictable, what we call them, hurdles that keep people from moving to the next stage. And so like you, when you saw that, people often identify themselves, where am I at in the stages? And then they start to see, oh, that's what I got to figure out next to get to the next stage. And unfortunately, what got you to one stage isn't sufficient to get you to the next stage.
So true.
And so we always talk about what got you here won't get you there. And people like yourself, who are always working to grow and develop yourself, are the ones who figure out what it takes to go to the next thing. People like your listeners, your viewers, are the ones investing in themselves to figure out how to go. Otherwise, you just get stuck in the place that you have arrived, right? Like you knew what it took to get you here, and that's where you land, and you kind of stay in that spot until you learn the things that take you to the next place.
No, it's pretty neat. And because I always tell the listeners and the students and our associates around the country, I only tell them stuff I do. So that's why I wanted to share that story, that's how I started with it. So now let's jump into their shoes, Brett. So say they're where I was. I was just under $1 million when we met, and now we're breaking the 3 mark. And let's say they're under $1 million right now. That's not kind of what you call the elite forum that they're going to see links for in the show notes or on YouTube. But what are some things they can do so they can prep? Because I think that's the word, and you may correct me on that, but they're under $1 million and they're not quite at that 7-figure yet. What are some things they could be thinking about or doing?
Yeah, so really great question. And I was thinking a little bit about your audience on my drive in today. Because and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I'm guessing that many of your listeners, many of your viewers have no real aspirations to grow a big business, right? They're not thinking that way. They're real estate investors. They want to grow their wealth, but they may not want to grow a team to do that. So, some of what we share is applicable whether you're a one person shop or whether you've grown a team of 5 people or have aspirations to grow to 10 or 15 or 20 team members. Wherever you are in those growth stages, there's information, there's content that will be useful to you. Why we focus so much on the 7-figure challenges is that's where our passion and the need for many entrepreneurs sort of intersect. Okay, and I'll say more about that briefly. The reason we call it elite entrepreneurs is that 97% of businesses who start never make it to $1 million in revenue. If you
Amazing,
just
right?
pause and think about that, right? And so for any of you who are listening or viewing this, if you're at that $1 million plus mark, you are an elite business. Okay? You are breathing elite air. And if you're fast approaching it or hustling, as Chris said earlier, to get there, you're in that space where you're approaching eliteness. And so it's not that you are elitist, right? You could be great and down to earth like Chris and his whole team. And I've enjoyed meeting all of them. But you are in a place where most people haven't been, and then to go to the next place, like there's not that much access to people who've been there and done that and have the tools and processes to do it. So that's why we love helping that group. It's totally fun. And I'm not sure if I remember now exactly what you asked, Chris, and
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
good. No, it's perfect. This is good stuff. Wherever it takes it. I was talking, about the person that's under a million, like you said, may or may not want to get there. But I can tell you, pretty sure that most of the listeners want to get. I mean, because we talk to a lot of people on strategy calls. Most of the people listening now want to get to that $1 million, whether, like you said, whether it's alone or with a team. But in my opinion, the whole idea of the systems and everything we just talked about that you build and continue to build is that even if they're on their own and trying to get to $1 million, they're going to need some help. I don't care how you twist it. They're going to need help. I know the business well enough to know that. So I think it definitely applies to everyone.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing me back to the point. The clarity and alignment is key for any person, right? So when we talk about seven-figure businesses or those who are below seven figures, organizational effectiveness is very similar to personal effectiveness. So when you bring people on to talk to your listeners about what it takes to achieve, right? They got to set goals. They got to be disciplined. They got to manage themselves, their time effectively. There's a lot of things that individuals have to do to be effective, and organizational effectiveness has the parallels are like eerie, right? It's all the same stuff, just on a more complex and dynamic playing field because you have more people involved. So everything we share applies to an individual or to a team. We just really focus on the companies that hustle their way to $1 million plus and then are having to make that transition from entrepreneur to CEO.
Yeah, you said something, I think it was when I was with you privately in January, and it was something around the thought of your business will never outgrow you and your leadership and your skill sets. That's actually a scary thought. You alluded to it somewhat just then, I think, but that's a scary thought for a lot of people. Like if you're not growing in your leadership skills and all your skill sets aren't growing, your business is not growing past that. That's an interesting thought. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. You become the gating factor, unfortunately. So if you don't like where your business is today, you got to take a hard look in the mirror. And most of us have a hard time doing that because it's hard to see ourselves, right? Or, we like to think about the challenges being external to us. But yeah, and it's the reason that you and others are always pushing people to learn, right? What book are you reading? What conference are you going to? How are you learning? How are you growing? Because your business cannot grow past your own level of capability as a leader.
Yeah, and it's why, now that you said that, I'm going to say two things. One is it's why we started the business scaling, the annual business scaling secrets event for ourselves, because now that with your help and continued help, we can translate that and give it to them, offer it to them in a one-day event this year, probably 2 days from now on. So much material. So the whole been there, done that, been through it, the whole your business can't outgrow you. We're going to do all that at our business scaling event. But also I want to make sure I give them the right link. You have kind of an under $1 million, I'll call it, program for them. And that I'm going to put the show notes. I'm going to put the link in here, but it's going to be for the listeners and for the people on YouTube, smartrealestatecoach.com/grow with elite. And so that'll be, you want to talk about what that is actually, Brett? It's not the elite form, but it's kind of like the before $1 million.
Yeah, so many people want what we make available in Elite Forum, but then they're not quite ready for it. Either they're not ready to come out here to Arizona, which is a big requirement, right? Leave your business, travel out here, do this with us here. or they're not quite at 1 million yet, but they want to start benefiting from what we teach. So we created a program online called Elite Access. And it's an online membership platform. You guys are all familiar with membership sites. But we take all of the content and material from Elite Forum that somebody can go through on their own. So it's a little bit of a do-it-yourself approach to Elite Forum. Obviously, that doesn't come with the value of us working with you on your business live and in person with other businesses, but all the content's there, and people can access it more affordably that way.
I think it's awesome. I mean, literally, if I had that, who knows? But I would think if I had that, I would have got there a lot quicker and with a lot less pain. But I think it's awesome for everyone. So I'm going to say it at the end, but the 2 takeaways here, if you're under 1 million, is definitely do that. Click the link below, but also get your butt to our Business Scaling Secrets event. Whether you're in our niche or another one, you're going to be around those type of people. Actually, talk about that, Brett, before I transition. How important is it for other business owners to be around business owners like themselves? Because we show up, whether it was me originally, but now our whole team goes to Arizona, and there's no one in real estate in the room. It's all different businesses. How important is that to be around that environment like we're going to provide too?
Yeah, so there's a couple things we've learned in working with hundreds of businesses over the past 7 years. One of them is that the business owners, because they don't really have anybody to report to, because they're trying to look at the mirror, right? It kind of self-assess all the time. It's really healthy to get out and be with other businesses who are trying to do the same thing, right? Yeah. So there's a sense of community, but then the other thing is there's a sense of accountability. And I mentioned you don't report to anybody, right? So unless you've very intentionally assembled your own board of advisors, which I think is a great practice, or you have a little board of directors of some sort, or an investor that's going to keep you on track, having some accountability to a peer group and a sense of community where you're all learning and growing together really is, for some reason, our members find a lot of value in getting together, being with others who are doing this journey. And they share a lot of value with one another. So it's not just, elite entrepreneurs, our business, who's providing the content and the value, but the community starts to help each other as well. So super valuable.
Yeah, it's huge in every way. And I can't stress enough how much we get out of going to Elite. And for those of you under 1 million, get your butt on through the course. And by the way, so I say the right link again, and I'll say these at the end, and the course is going to be below, but the one that we're involved in, that the 7 figures and above can look into and apply for, would be the smartrealestatecoach.com/elite. So it's /elite, or it's /grow with elite. And that would be for as you're growing towards 1 million. So pretty cool stuff there. Brett, I wanted to do a we could talk for 2 hours, I'm sure, and I would love to, but I want to do kind of a few wrap up things with you, because to get all that you get done and to work with how many business owners you have and to grow with Infusionsoft back then from 7 to 100 million, you had to have some pretty cool things going on personally to get that done. So I'll give you some bulleted questions here. Top 3 productive things that you do every day to be your best. I mean, it could be a ritual, it could be disciplines. What are 2 or 3 things you do every day?
So every day, I spend some time keeping myself right, my head, and I guess I'll call it being centered. So I spend some time in scriptures every day. That helps me be who I need to be. I also spend some time looking at my calendar ahead of time. So this is weekly and daily. So I'll look at the next day as I'm heading out. At the end of the day, heading out of the office, I look at the next day, make sure I'm all lined up. But first thing at the end of the day on Friday, I'm looking ahead to the week, the coming week. And then on Monday morning, I actually meet with my team, and we discuss the priorities for the week. So we get really clear about what do we have to get done this week. So I'm always checking in, looking ahead, because most of us get sucked into being reactive, and then we're not being choiceful about how we're going to invest our time. So I try to keep centered every day, and then I try to keep myself in a proactive stance in terms of how I manage my calendar.
Yeah, because at least in the surface, because I've known you for a year, you do that calm, cool, and collective. I don't ever see a stressed out situation there. So you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Um,
well, some of that's personality. Some of your listeners have probably fallen asleep by now. I just have this very relaxing tone.
no, I'm sure they're with us. So what's on the horizon for you then? Because you're a year deep, you know what you can do with the business. What like every entrepreneur I talk to on this show is like, okay, here's my next project or the next thing I'm looking to conquer. Like, what's next for Elite and you?
Yeah, so what's next for us is I just actually got off the phone with a venture capital firm yesterday who's up in Nova Scotia. And I guess it doesn't matter where they're at, but happens to be a company out of Nova Scotia. And they have a portfolio of companies that they've invested in, and they're trying to programmatically invest in their top performing companies. And so we were talking about how can we bring the value of Elite to a portfolio of a venture backed, a venture firm. And so that's an interesting thing for me, because I know every venture backed company needs to learn this transition from entrepreneur to CEO and all the systems and the tools and the processes we've developed. And so if we can partner with more investment companies who are investing in companies, not investing in real estate, but they're investing in companies and trying to grow those companies. If I can partner with them, that's a win for us and a win for them. So that's one thing we're toying with right now that might be an interesting model for us.
Yeah, so they
But
touch a lot of companies you want to touch. That's pretty cool, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
and they're in the business of growing value through company growth, and
yeah,
we're in the the business of growing companies who are meaningful and having an impact out there. And so it's a nice
that's cool.
combination. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever asked you this, so I'm definitely going to ask you today on the show. What book are you reading now, or Audibles or whatever? And then what's your favorite book? I mean, I know that might change, but off the top of your head.
Yeah, so my favorite author is Jim Collins. So I've read all of his stuff. But one book is a little known book. This I'll call this one my favorite for today. We actually shared it with you and others in our elite programs. It's called Beyond Entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And so before Jim Collins was known as Jim Collins, he's published in that book as James C. Collins. And it was while he was just getting his start with his mentor, Bill Lazier. And you talk about the importance of mentors.
Yeah.
His mentor was Bill Lazier. And Bill and James C. Collins wrote this book called Beyond Entrepreneurship. And it's really about this transition from entrepreneur to CEO. And so we love it. We're always promoting that book. And, it's not a mainstream book, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it was one of the five or so I think you gave us, and we barreled all the way through them all.
Yeah, we give a little library of books that we recommend as part of that Elite Forum experience, but that's sort of the foundational one.
You hit mentor again in there, so I'm just going to bring that back to the forefront. So who would you say is one of your favorite mentors to date, and then just another comment or two on the importance of mentors for sure.
Yeah, so I have the luxury of being surrounded by some really great people, and them from our Elite experience. But two that I'll just speak to quickly is Clayton Mask, who we already talked about, is the CEO of now Keep. Used to be Infusionsoft, and they've made a rebranding recently, and it's called Keep, KEAP. But now, as the CEO of a $100 million plus business on its way to 300 million, and then beyond that, that's a valuable relationship for me. And thankfully, I've been able to help him over the years. But now it's kind of reversed, because I'm starting up in this business, and he's advising me. So it's an awesome partnership that we have. And then another guy named Tyler Norton, who you've heard in our events. He's super accomplished and just one of the great strategy experts out there, and he's awesome as a mentor as well.
Yeah, I'll say that we've had, I don't know if I told you this, I think it might have been since we last saw you, but we had another Zoom call with him, and it just you brought him to us at the event, and then we had I think it was only an hour, maybe less, but we got off there going, man, I can't believe how amazing that guy is. And so he may even come and spend some time with us. So I thank you again for introducing us. He's just an amazing guy.
Yeah, you're welcome. So yeah, I feel very fortunate to be surrounded by tons of people in the ecosystem as we grew Infusionsoft,
Yeah.
whether they were investors or partners or customers. They just attracted a lot of great people, and I benefit from many of those relationships still.
So here's kind of my last wrap up, if you will. Let's say, because you do this often anyway, you're standing in front of a room of a mix of under a million and over a million business owners, so that you know what they're struggling through, the same fears, anxieties, doubts, etc. What are, say, two or three things, short of they can go through the whole course and they can get to know you, but what are two or three strategies, let's say, that you might recommend to them that they could focus on, say, in the next several months? Just
Yeah, I'm gonna give two really big things, and then maybe we'll dive in on one of them really quickly. So clarity and alignment. Okay, it doesn't matter what size the business is, you need clarity and alignment, and that, by the way, breeds confidence. So one of the biggest struggles you kind of alluded to was the uncertainty, the fears, the struggles that business owners have as they're trying to grow through that. Clarity and alignment will bring a ton of confidence to them. So the clarity, I'll just drill down on that really quickly.
yeah.
That comes from getting clear on your vision. And as you know from coming through Elite, vision is made up of purpose, values, and mission. And I'll speak specifically to mission. When you have a clear destination, like we are taking our business from here, where we are now, to there, that place over there, um, in this time frame, and I would recommend a 3-year time frame. Everybody knows exactly where they're trying to get in the next 3 years, because once you're clear on the destination, then you can create very good strategy. The how are we going to go do that? Until you're clear on a destination, you're just wandering, you're just going, you're just hustling. Doesn't mean you're not creating a nice business, but you're not creating a focused, right, clarity and alignment will allow you to get super focused on how you allocate resources, your time, your energy, your dollars, your management attention, right? All of it focused on a destination and very clear strategies for how to get there.
Love it, love it. And I'm gonna bring some of that into the business scaling, and maybe at some point these guys might hear from you electronically. I'll just throw that out there as a teaser. Maybe we'll do
Oh,
something.
I'd be happy to help if I can, for sure.
That'd be cool. So let me repeat some of the show notes, guys, in case you're just listening. And as a reminder, jump over to YouTube for an extra bonus, as well as some more content. So if you're under a million and you're looking to kind of really immerse yourself into this information, I highly suggest you do. smartrealestatecoach.com/grow with elite. If you're at that 7-figure mark, you're looking to take that even further, smartrealestatecoach.com/elite. Brett, that was super awesome. Again, we could probably talk for a while. I hope to have you on for an encore at some point. Any last minute thoughts or nuggets you want to share with these guys before I wrap up?
Well, I appreciate you making the stages of small business growth available to them as well. And I don't know which of those links they have to do that with, or if it's just downloadable at your show notes.
Yeah, we'll add it down there. Good.
Okay.
Good
Yeah,
reminder.
because I want them to have that, because it's kind of fun to see, here I am, right? And here's where I'm trying to go. I think they'll find that useful. So I would just say, get intentional and be disciplined. I mean, those are sort of the keys to personal effectiveness and organizational effectiveness. But that the clarity and alignment that comes from getting intentional, and then the discipline to stick with a rhythm and a routine that's going to help them be successful. I want nothing more than for all of your listeners and viewers to achieve their wildest dreams. So I guess that's what I would leave them with.
Yeah, and I'd encourage them to come meet you, like we've had the opportunity to do and the fortunate experience of doing and continue to do. Okay, smart listeners, I trust you enjoyed our time together with Brett. I know I did, and I always tell you guys, there's nothing going to happen to get you to that quantum leap that I alluded to without you taking action. You've got 5 stages of business growth to download. You've got a couple links to look at, and then you've got our business scaling event, our annual event coming up. So you go ahead and register for that. Lastly, if you enjoyed the episode, give us a rating. I don't care where you're listening or watching, rate us, share it. You're going to get this information out to other people who will enjoy it, and you're going to get Brett's information out, which is super, super helpful for any entrepreneur, not just real estate. Brett, we appreciate you sharing some time with us today. I know we all have the same 10,000 and 80 minutes a week, and you peeled away probably an hour between thinking and being on the show. So I super appreciate it. And thanks for sharing with our listeners.
Chris, I valued being here. Anytime I can help, I'm more than happy to do that. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks again, buddy.